The gala was supposed to be just another event, another night where we all put on our best faces and pretended to be something we weren't. But as I stepped into the grand hall, with its towering chandeliers and the soft murmur of guests laughing and exchanging pleasantries, something felt different tonight. I wasn't sure if it was the air itself, heavy with anticipation, or something else entirely. I had worked at this company for years, and yet, tonight, something about tonight made everything feel new. Adam, my boss, stood near the front of the room, talking to a group of important clients. He was everything I admired in a man. Strong, confident, composed, but always at a distance. He kept himself contained, the very definition of professional. We had spoken 1,000 times, but never like this. Always formal, always with a purpose. But tonight, the way he stood there, smiling with a hint of something more in his eyes, something I couldn't quite decipher, caught my attention. I tried to look away. I had worked with him for so long, respected him, but there was something in the way he moved, something in the way his presence seemed to command the room. It wasn't until I felt his gaze fall on me, across the sea of faces, that I realized it wasn't just my imagination. For a split second, I swore time had slowed. His eyes locked with mine, and I could feel my pulse quicken. It wasn't just a glance. It was something deeper, something heavier. My breath caught in my chest as I tried to look away, but I couldn't. There it was again, a small flicker of something in his gaze. Something unspoken, something neither of us dared to name. I wasn't sure what to make of it. Was I reading too much into it? Was it just a passing look? Or was there something more? The evening moved on as it always did. People mingling, music playing softly in the background. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. My body felt warm. My thoughts scattered as I tried to focus on the conversations around me. But I couldn't stop thinking about Adam. I couldn't stop wondering what that look meant. As the evening wore on, I found myself standing by the edge of the room, pretending to admire the view. But my mind kept wandering back to him. I told myself it was nothing, a momentary connection that didn't mean anything. But deep down, I knew better. I knew that the space between us had suddenly grown smaller, and I wasn't sure what to do with that feeling. That's when he appeared by my side. "May I have this dance?" His voice was soft, low. He wasn't just asking to dance. There was something more in the way he said it. His words lingered in the air, and I could feel the tension between us tighten. I hesitated. I had never danced with him before. It was unthinkable. He was my boss. He was off limits, a professional boundary I shouldn't cross. But there was something in his eyes, something that made it impossible to say no. I nodded, slowly, the words barely escaping my lips. "Yes." His hand reached out, warm and steady, and I placed mine in his without thinking. The moment our hands touched, the world around us seemed to fall away. The music, the guests, the sparkling lights, they all faded into the background, and all that was left was him and me. The dance began, slow and gentle. His hand on my back, guiding me across the floor, was firm, but not forceful. It was the kind of touch that made every nerve in my body stand at attention. Every movement, every step, felt as though we had been doing this for years. Yet it was new and raw, in a way I didn't understand. As we moved, I could feel the tension building. The closeness between us, the heat of his body against mine, was almost unbearable. And with each passing second, it was becoming clearer to me. This wasn't just a dance. This was something more, something neither of us could name, but both of us could feel. And just like that, as our eyes met once more, I knew this night was not going to be like any other. The dance was a moment suspended in time, a brief escape from the reality of the world around us. Adam's hand on my back, the way his touch seemed to steady me, it all felt so natural, too natural. As we glided across the floor, every movement seemed perfectly synchronized, like we were meant to be here, together, in this space, at this time. But I couldn't ignore the unease that gnawed at the back of my mind. I was dancing with my boss. This was wrong, wasn't it? He was off limits. He had always been professional, distant, the man who was always in control of every situation. And yet, here we were, moving closer with each step, both of us swept up in something neither of us had expected. The music faded into the background, and in that moment, all I could hear was the steady thrum of my heart. It was impossible to ignore the chemistry, the undeniable pull that was growing between us with every second. I told myself it was just a dance. That was all it was, a polite gesture. But it didn't feel like just a dance. It felt like something else, something deeper. His fingers brushed my waist as he led me through the movements, and I could feel the heat of his touch lingering on my skin, even after his hand had moved. A small shiver ran through me, and I instinctively leaned a little closer, unable to stop myself. I knew I should pull away. I should step back and remind myself of the rules, of the boundaries that had always existed between us. But I didn't. Instead, I found myself leaning into him, just a little more. It felt like a secret we were both sharing, one we weren't ready to admit, but couldn't deny. For a fleeting moment, our gazes locked again. The world around us faded, and it felt like we were the only two people in the room. The unspoken words hung in the air, like a delicate thread, one that could snap at any moment. His eyes were soft, but there was something more there, a quiet intensity, a longing that matched my own. "Are you all right?" His voice was low, just above a whisper, and I could hear the edge of concern in it. I nodded, my throat suddenly tight. "Yes," I managed, though the word felt like a lie. "I wasn't all right. Not at all." He smiled, just a little, as though he understood the unspoken truth between us. We were teetering on the edge of something dangerous, something we both knew was forbidden. But the more we danced, the closer we became, the more that line seemed to blur. The music began to slow, the gentle melody wrapping around us like a soft embrace. My hand, still resting in his, trembled slightly, though I wasn't sure if he noticed. Everything felt heightened, the warmth of his touch, the way his body moved against mine, the way I could feel his breath against my ear as he leaned in just a little closer. I could feel the intensity between us growing, thickening the air around us. He hadn't pulled away, and neither had I. If anything, we were both moving closer, both of us caught in the pull of something we knew we shouldn't want. For a moment, I thought about pulling away. I thought about stepping back, putting some distance between us. But the words died in my throat. I couldn't. I didn't want to. The truth was, I was drawn to him in a way I couldn't explain, a way that terrified me. And that's when I felt it, the pressure of his other hand moving from my waist to the small of my back, pulling me just a little bit closer. A subtle but powerful gesture that spoke volumes. He didn't say a word, but his touch, the way his fingers pressed into my skin, spoke louder than anything else. I felt the heat of his body against mine, and I realized, with a sudden, undeniable clarity, that we weren't just two people dancing anymore. We were two people standing on the edge of something much, much more. His eyes met mine once more, and I saw it then. Something in his gaze that mirrored what I was feeling. The tension, the longing, the desire that had been building between us all night. It was right there, in that look, and for a moment, neither of us moved. The room seemed to hold its breath as we stood there, locked in the same moment, caught between what was and what could be. The dance had ended, but neither of us moved. We stood there, locked in place, the music now a soft hum in the distance. The lights above flickered slightly, casting long shadows across the floor. But all I could focus on was him, his presence, the heat of his hand still resting on my back, the way his fingers seemed to linger just a little too long. I didn't know how long we had been standing there, but it felt like time itself had stopped, frozen in the stillness between us. I should have pulled away. I should have said something, anything, but all I could do was breathe, feel the pulse of the night pressing against me, urging me to stay in this moment, the moment where everything felt suspended. When Adam finally spoke, his voice was low, rough, almost hesitant, as if he was unsure of what he was about to say. "This shouldn't be happening," he said, his gaze dropping from my eyes to the floor, the words hanging between us like a heavy cloud. I should have agreed. I should have told him he was right. But instead, I found myself saying nothing, simply looking at him. His words weren't a condemnation. They were a statement of truth. We both knew it. "I know," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the music. My throat tightened as I said it. I had always known. I had always kept my distance, kept things professional. But standing here, with his body so close to mine, the tension building between us, all the reasons why this shouldn't happen seemed so distant, so far away. He lifted his eyes to meet mine again, and I saw the struggle there, the conflict that mirrored my own. "But it feels like it should," he said, his voice softer now, almost like a question, as though he needed me to confirm what we both knew to be true. I didn't speak at first. I couldn't. There were so many things I wanted to say, so many thoughts tumbling in my mind, but all that came out was a shaky breath, a breath I hadn't realized I had been holding. The words felt too dangerous, too raw to say aloud. And then, without warning, his hand moved, sliding from my back to the side of my face, his thumb brushing over my skin. It was gentle, so gentle that it almost felt like a caress, yet it carried a weight that I could feel all the way down to my toes. The warmth of his touch spread through me, and I couldn't help but lean into it, just a little. His eyes searched mine, and for a moment, I saw it, something I hadn't seen before, a vulnerability, an openness that made my heart race, made the walls I had so carefully built around myself begin to crumble. His breath was shallow, and I could see the way his lips parted ever so slightly, the tension in his body telling me everything I needed to know. "Adam." My voice faltered as I said his name, the air thick with the unspoken words between us. I didn't know what I was asking, what I was inviting with the simple utterance of his name. But he didn't need me to finish. He didn't need me to say anything more. Slowly, almost painfully so, he leaned in. My heart pounded in my chest as I closed my eyes, bracing myself for the moment that was coming. I felt his breath against my lips, warm and inviting, and I couldn't pull away. And then, his lips brushed mine. It was barely a touch at first, just a soft press, as if he were testing the waters, as if he needed to know if I was ready. But I wasn't ready. I knew I wasn't. But when I felt him, I couldn't stop myself. I couldn't pull away. The kiss deepened, and I felt my world tilt. The room spinning around me, his arms wrapped around me, pulling me closer, and I melted into him, the desire flooding through me like a wave. We moved together, our bodies finding a rhythm that felt natural, inevitable, as if we had both been waiting for this moment without even knowing it. His hands, so gentle yet firm, roamed over my back, my waist, like he was learning the feel of me, as if he couldn't get close enough. I wanted to pull away. I wanted to stop. But the truth was, I didn't. I couldn't. Every part of me was drawn to him, to the heat of his body, the closeness, the intensity of the kiss that was both soft and urgent, as though we were both trying to make up for lost time. His lips moved to my neck, and I gasped, unable to control the reaction. My body responded before my mind could catch up, my hands finding their way to his chest, feeling the warmth of his skin beneath the fabric of his shirt. It was happening. I couldn't stop it, and for the first time in my life, I didn't want to. The kiss didn't stop. It was like we couldn't pull away from each other, as if our bodies had a mind of their own. Each breath, each movement, was a slow and deliberate unraveling of the control we had both held so tightly onto. Adam's hands moved over my skin, his touch sending waves of heat through me, making it impossible to focus on anything other than the feeling of him, so close, so real. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest, the reality of the situation sinking in. This wasn't just a kiss anymore. It was something deeper, something that neither of us could ignore. It felt as though we were both losing ourselves in it, caught between what we wanted and what we knew we shouldn't have. His lips left mine, trailing down my neck, his breath hot against my skin. I could feel the tension in his body, the way his hands gripped me, just a little tighter, as though afraid I might slip away. I wasn't going anywhere. I couldn't. I had crossed a line, just as he had. We were tangled in something that neither of us could pull out of now. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice rough, the words carrying a weight that made my stomach twist. I wanted to tell him no, to pull back, to remind both of us that this was a mistake. But I couldn't. The words wouldn't come. All I could do was nod, even though a part of me was terrified. "Yes," I whispered. "I want this." His gaze softened, a flicker of relief in his eyes, before they darkened again with desire. Slowly, he backed me up against the wall, the coldness of it a sharp contrast to the heat of our bodies pressed so close together. His hands traced the line of my jaw before finding the back of my neck, holding me in place as his lips sought mine again. The kiss was urgent now, fierce, a perfect blend of tenderness and hunger. My hands moved to his chest, feeling the muscles beneath his shirt, the rapid beat of his heart matching my own. I wanted to pull away, to remind myself of the boundaries I should never have crossed. But when his lips found the delicate spot just below my ear, I forgot everything. I forgot the rules, the reasons why we shouldn't be doing this. All that mattered was the way he made me feel. Alive, desired, completely his. We were both lost in it now, lost in the pull of desire, the need to be closer, to feel every part of each other. Adam's hands roamed over me with a new sense of urgency, and I responded in kind, my body pressing into his, as if I couldn't get close enough. "I can't stop," he murmured against my lips, his voice ragged. "I don't want to." I didn't want him to stop. I didn't want this to end. The kiss deepened, a beautiful, chaotic dance between us, as we both shed the final remnants of restraint. In a fluid motion, Adam lifted me, his strength evident as he held me against him. My legs instinctively wrapped around his waist, pulling me closer, if that was even possible. My hands ran up his neck, into his hair, as his lips found the soft skin of my collarbone. Every kiss, every touch, ignited something inside me, something I hadn't known I was capable of feeling. His touch was like fire, setting every part of me alight. I gasped as he moved with me, the heat of his body, the strength in his hands, the rhythm of our bodies falling into place. There was no distance anymore, no hesitation, just the raw, undeniable pull of need and desire. Every moment stretched into the next, each one more intense than the last. The world outside us no longer mattered. There was only this, only the way we moved together, the way our bodies seemed to fit, as though they had been made for each other. The intensity built, wave after wave, until I could feel the world around me begin to dissolve, the sensations overwhelming my mind, my senses. Every kiss, every touch, every breath brought us closer to the edge. And then, as the tension reached its peak, everything seemed to break apart, as though we were both consumed by the moment, consumed by each other. The release was all-encompassing, a shared, breathless surrender that left us both shaken, panting for air, unable to do anything but hold on to each other. The silence between us was profound, heavy with everything we had just shared. I could hear my own breath, ragged and uneven, and I felt him holding me, his arms around me, grounding me. For a moment, I couldn't find the words. The world outside, the reality that we had left behind, seemed so far away, as though we had been transported into a place where time didn't exist. I pulled back slightly, my hands resting on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. Our gazes met, and for a moment, there was nothing but the quiet understanding that passed between us. "I never should have let it get this far," I said quietly, my voice barely a whisper. He shook his head, his hand gently cupping my face. "Neither of us could have stopped it," he replied softly, "and I don't regret it." I closed my eyes, the weight of what we had done settling over me. There was no going back now. The boundaries that had once been so clear were now blurred, and we were left to figure out what came next. "I don't regret it either," I whispered back, though a small part of me knew things would never be the same. We had crossed a line, and there was no uncrossing it. But in that moment, none of that mattered. All that mattered was the way we held each other, the way the world outside had faded into the background, and how, for just a brief moment, we had given in to something real.